And I'm going to bring up the moderator for this panel, Michael Hoffman. And I actually just did a webinar almost a week ago, and we finally got to meet in real life. It's amazing. This guy knows so much about video. It will blow your mind. And I'm all about community as well. So this is going to be like the coolest talk ever, talking about video trends and community trends and how do you use them together. So I want to welcome to the stage Mr. Michael Hoffman from Gather Voices. Oh, come on.
All right. Let me get my... How do we switch out? Hi, everyone. Welcome. And I'm excited to bring up our panel. Why don't you guys just come on up, I would say. We don't need to be too dramatic about it. So we're talking about how to implement a community-driven video strategy at your next event. We're going to first talk about what that means, but I want to introduce the panel. So Matt from the Turnaround Management Association, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm the marketing manager at TMA. We are an professional association for people in the turnaround and restructuring business. So that's lawyers, accountants, bankruptcy, judges, pretty much everyone that helps businesses turn around their business.
Awesome. And Shelly from Hard Rock is, I would say, a legend in the event business. But Shelly, would you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Michael. My name is Shelly Williams. I am the Director of Global Sales for Hard Rock International. Hard Rock International is a globally recognized lifestyle brand. We have 39 global hotels and expanding to the newest place here on the Strip, the Mirage. My piece here is really about how do we, in a community fashion, create raving fans for our brand. And it's not only about content, but for us, it's also about culture. And so that's something that we use Gather Voices for.
Awesome. And Drew from MPI. Drew, introduce yourself.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, whoa, that's loud. I got to follow the legend, Shelly Williams. Shelly and I go way back as well. So I'm Drew Holmgreen. I'm Chief Brand Officer at Meeting Professionals International. Is anybody familiar with MPI? Members of MPI? Okay, cool. A few hands up. That's awesome. I'm going to talk to the rest of you as the day goes on. So I'm the Chief Brand Officer at MPI. I lead all of our brand initiatives. I know that seems pretty obvious. We lean into video pretty heavily. My background before MPI, I worked for ad agencies for about 20 years. And I was always on the digital side and kept seeing the prevalence of video and how it could connect and bring messaging and marketing and emotions forward, not just within the TV screen, but really within the community space, linking people together. And that's typically how we incorporate video into our general marketing strategies and really have, in the nicest way possible, used Gather Voices as the mechanism to help really build that community and create assets. But we'll get into a lot of that in a bit.
Awesome. Thank you. So I want to just start with this. We're talking about community-driven video content, and I want to just start with saying, what do we mean by that? So Drew, I'm going to just go back to you. What's the difference between a community video strategy and a kind of traditional video strategy?
Yeah, so community strategy is about connecting people to people and creating some relevant content. So when you start to look at just kind of general videos that are almost more promotional in nature and kind of advertising in nature, they're really just kind of pushing a creative message out there. Whereas creating community-driven video is about developing content that's relevant to your community. So we'll kind of work on getting testimonials from our members, testimonials from people who have gotten scholarships through the MPI Foundation, testimonials from individuals who have attended our events, and allow them to become that recognizable voice and presence for our portfolio that then drives a connection within our community.
Yeah. And Shelly, you mentioned fans, creating fans. So how does the idea of brand, fans, and community video kind of fit together for you?
Yeah, I think what we do with Gather Voices together with Hard Rock is we really give them a soapbox, right? Everybody has a message, everybody has a platform, and this is an opportunity for for each and individual of our community that enjoys the Hard Rock brand or enjoys the experience that they're receiving to be able to communicate that outward to their followers, their influencers, and really kind of engage that community and really create a different type of culture amongst us. So it's a one in many type of culture, but it's really more for us on a business development side to B2B to help that perception, to help them understand what we're trying to achieve in the marketplace by not just having, a static read from copy type of strategy.
Right. And Matt, you're unlike Hard Rock, where there's a brand that's recognizable. The Turnaround Management Association is a much more niche group of people doing something really specific. How does community video play a role there that might be a little different?
For us, it's that we use it as a word of mouth almost, where we get our members to talk about their experiences. We have the Gather Voices at every single event that Global puts on, and we're now starting to bring it out to our regional events. And it's really getting the members to talk about why they love being a part of our association. And then for Black History Month and Women's History Month, we used it to help grow the industry in those segments as well, because our segment is very male driven, and so we're looking to grow with our DE&I initiatives, and we used Gather Voices for that as well.
Got it. So, we're in a world where the kind of shiny objects of TikTok and other things are taking over, but video, we're not doing video just for the sake of video, right? We're doing video to align with strategic goals. So, Drew, will you just talk a little about that, about how do you think about how you do something that's goal driven and not just kind of video for sake of a video?
Yeah, so like most organizations, we have strategic pillars within MPI. So if you're not familiar with MPI, we're the world's largest professional association for meeting and event professionals. We've got about 13 members worldwide. About 80% of our membership is within the United States, and then the rest of that 20% is Canada, Latin America, and Europe. The way that we use video is for brand awareness, and that's one of our primary pillars within our organization. And it's not just brand awareness for MPI, but it's brand awareness for the industry. The events industry is one that's largely lost globally in terms of its prominence. The reality is, prior to the pandemic, it was the 13th largest commercial industry in the world. If you actually applied a GDP to it, it had a larger GDP than the majority of the countries worldwide, including Mexico and others. So it's the indirect business outputs were north of $2 trillion. So we use video as well to help drive awareness about MPI and the impacts of this industry. And the way that we do that is really by using tools like Gather Voices. This is not supposed to sound like a commercial for Gather Voices, but it kind of is. We use tools like that to really create and curate content of our community talking about the benefits of the events profession globally and the impact that it makes worldwide. So we use it for brand awareness for MPI. We use it for brand awareness just on the industry in general to help really uplift our brand in some emerging markets and markets like the US where we have a heavy penetration, but then also uplift the presence of the industry in other markets. And one that I'll really speak to specifically is Latin America. So Latin America is a strong events market, but one that it's maturing beyond emerging, and that's largely due to organizations like MPI, like PCMA, like IBTM, and others that have really taken a concerted effort to get the message out there. And we at MPI, I will tell you this, the Latin America community, they love doing videos. So as soon as we output that tool into the market, we really got a lot of content generated out them that we could then push into our social channels and get some spread, because they would then push it through their social channels, and all of a sudden you're getting that kind of viral effect to really uplift the brand and drive awareness.
Yeah, that's interesting. And the awareness thing makes a lot of sense, but like Shelly, with you, the the brand is pretty well known, and you have very specific goals, around.
Yeah, our strategy was really about engagement and how do we bring those fans in closer to us. And so not tell them, but show them. And so we needed to use and amplify an audio channel, but also a video channel at the same time, because our brand is all about music, but we're very philanthropic. So a lot of the things that we do is we try and use some of the strategies of who we are, but really get deep rooted so that they understand our story. The Hard Rock story is a 50-year-old story, but we know it from a brand equity perspective. We know the brand from the cafe perspective. We know the brand from hotels, casinos, T-shirts, and memorabilia, but we don't necessarily know what that experience is. And so a lot of times what we wanted to do is really articulate through video content why you should be an aspirational follower of a brand in the lifestyle space.
Right. And Matt, you were just talking a little bit about strategy and the alignment before when you were saying you needed to diversify your community around the work that you do because it skews white. How did you think about how to reach out and what audience to reach out to in order to have an effective campaign? So you had a strategy in mind, which is clear, but then how do you actually decide who to ask, what to ask, where to go from there?
For us, thinking about the Black History Month in particular, we have very prominent people in our DE&I committee. We have the CEO who knows pretty much almost every member, I'd say. And we just reached out. We asked them what challenges they faced in their career. And some of the younger members, we asked them, how could we reach out to maybe people in law school, people in business programs to attract them to come to our niche part of the profession and the business world and law, etc.
Got it. So the idea of representation matters, right? If people don't see themselves reflected in the marketing material, in the event material, in the membership material, they're just going to think it's not for me, right?
For sure. And getting it more visible of all of our members, it just really helps. It does give a face to a person instead of just us as a global organization talking about our members without people seeing who those members are.
Right. Shelley, will you talk a little bit about how you decided what specifically to do in terms of video and how, for a brand like Hard Rock, I'm sure there's people on TikTok and Instagram referencing the brand all the time in some way or another. How does your strategy differ from just kind of what happens in the wild as well?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of wild players in the Hard Rock fans. So everyone has their own, real Hard Rock at so-and-so, and there's a lot of TikTok followers doing their own dances and being their own artists. What we really wanted to do is we scanned what we needed from a strategy perspective, and we had an internal customer that needed to understand their customer. We had the brand that needed to engage for brand awareness to tell that storyline. And so what we did from a strategy perspective is says, okay, well, let's build this community so that they feel included, they're identified, and then we can then showcase that to the wider audience. And that is when we partnered with Gather Voices to create the Rockstar Yearbook. And the Rockstar Yearbook, we partnered with two of our brand premier experience partners, Song Division and Gather Voices. Song Division basically performs for us and does a lot of things with a co-marketing arm to elevate an experience around music. And so because our brand is so musically oriented, they can write a song about you in 3 minutes or less. And so what we wanted to do is really, okay, well, let's highlight and give our customers, our followers, our clients that sense of, we recognize you, we see you, but we want to know you better. So we engaged with Song Division. They wrote a 3-minute song about each and individual guest that we had invited or they visited us in a live event format. We recorded that with the Gather Voices format, and then what we can do is curate all of that content in the Hive, and we'll see that in a little bit, so that we can now, my internal customers, have a contact profile of each one of our customers that engaged with us in this format. They know their dog's name, they know what type of music they like pizza, they like to travel to Ghana. And then all of a sudden, when they show up at one of our hotels globally, we can play that video for them in their hotel room at the front desk. And all of a sudden, we know who they are. They feel welcomed immediately. We have a curated experience for them that they didn't even remember they did, probably at an event that they contacted us with. And then not only that, they share that with the world. So then they become a follower. We get the brand awareness exposure from all of followship and the ROI and all of those digital impressions, but we've also made them feel special. And now they're part of that community, a community for life. And once they see themselves in that Rockstar yearbook, it's like us going back through our yearbooks. Now it's digital, but now it's in a different format. So Gather Voices allowed us to do that. It was really fun to do. It's continuing. It's ongoing. Our internal stakeholders love it. And our external clients they love it. They show it. They rave about it.
And there's something about, I'm going to show it in a second here. I think there's something also about capturing footage and I'm going to ask all of you about this, on the show floor, when people are being engaged, how did that play into what we did?
So it really drove booth traffic, to be honest. Everybody wanted to really participate and engage. And not only that, it was something that they were taking back of a piece of memory, a moment in time that they actually engaged with us and the brand. The relationship was then deeper. And then also they had something to share with their friends. And not only did they share it, just on their social feedback, it's at a 50th birthday party. They showed it at a wedding to some guy at one point, so these things do have these lasting effects because we use music to give them, which is part of our brand DNA, a sense of engagement into that community, almost the introduction to you're now a rock star and now you're in a catalog with us for life. So
yeah, that's cool. I think the idea of authenticity in this kind of video is really important, but it also has to be authentic to the brand. And so you really combine that. So let's have a look actually at some of the things that you did for the Rockstar yearbook. This is actually Diane's video. We can watch a little bit. So you can see.
Can you play one?
Yeah, I'm going to play it right now. Let's see if that works.
Welcome back to IMAX 2022. I'm here with the lovely Diane, who she claims to be our very first instant hit after which I believe it, but we're bringing it back. We're going again. She wanted a classic rock song for a classic period. Here we go. She's a creative method, I'm the biggest fan. She's a dancer artist, full of energy. I can't explain what she's doing to me. Oh, she's so pretty, she's so cool. 30,000 followers, she's breaking all the rules. She was happy people walking around in nature. She's so amazing, but what could ever hate her is that?
So really engaging, really fun. It was a really live performance for those people that were there at the show. But then they were able to take this back, and it was almost that 4-wall event became more of a global environment.
So the person who was getting the song written about them right afterwards got the video in the branded frame, texted to them, sent to their email that they could easily share in their own network. So you're capturing some moment of excitement inside the walls of something, but you're actually able then to transmit it far outside the walls, right?
Yeah, and just the traction that it provided for us and the foot traffic. So we expected to have 260 appointments that week. We actually had 430 because they wanted to have an Insta-Hit done and have something that they could share and take home. So it was exponential as far as the traction that we gained from it. It was fun to do, and it's an ongoing thing. So it's always everybody wants to bring it back. So it's something that we'll be doing for 3 years so that we can capture. The strategy is to get 1,000 clients in the yearbook, and then actually actually, push it out so that each one of the global properties can then recall all of those videos, use them in individual formats. When we do sales calls, we'll pull up their video and say, hey, do you remember when you met us at? And they're like, oh yeah, that was a great time. And then it really kind of helps with kind of the sales relationship as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's talk about, Matt, you also are capturing video at your events. And how does that, what kind of energy do you get from that? And who are you capturing video from and for what?
We put the Gather Voices right in our attendee lounge. It's one of the most trafficked areas of all of our conferences. It's where our members meet and network, and networking is the biggest draw for our association. So the great thing, this campaign was set up at our annual conference in Boston, and then it was to promote our distressed investing conference, which was held here at the Wynn in Vegas at the Encore. And so we got members to just talk about past distressed investing conference experiences, how they made, this is our big networking event where people can actually make deals. We have a capital forum where there's big investors there to invest in some of these companies that need the help. So we got our members to talk about past deals that they made at the distressed investing conference.
Interesting. So it's not you saying, come to this conference, it's going to be great. It's people saying, I was there and I had this experience and here's how it helped my business and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. So then we got our members to talk about how it benefited them and not just, oh, come to this fun event in Vegas.
Right. Got it. I think part of that is, I think we all have to justify budgets differently today, maybe than before. It's not just going for fun. It's how is this really going to help my business?
For sure. And a lot of our big deals for our members happen at that conference in particular.
Got it. Excellent. I have some examples from, you mentioned, will you talk a little bit about what you did with you collected videos for Black History Month, Women's History Month, really to expand your community. What did you do with those videos?
We shared them on our social media, our email blast. It was really to help promote our DE&I efforts. It was to help grow the industry, in this case, for members of the Black community to join, not just join TMA, but join the profession in particular. We had a couple of them talk about their challenges or how we can get more people in the industry. And it was really well received, and we got a lot of great engagement on our social media as well from it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that when you ask somebody to tell their story, you really have two benefits from that. One is that the story's useful for others. You know, obviously you get to use the content, but the person who's telling the story actually feels more connected and closer to the organization as well, right? They feel heard and seen in a way that maybe they hadn't been before.
Yeah, and we're hoping too that it helps grow our industry for members of the communities that we feature. For Pride, we're going to do another one for members of the LGBTQIA plus community as well. Last year we just did bio summaries of members of the community, and this year we're going to use Gather Voices to help grow that outreach.
We could see just a little.
Vice President of Great White Capital, which is headquartered in West Point, Connecticut. A challenge that I face being a minority in the lending, turnaround, and restructuring field is the feeling of otherness that I encountered in facing groups that were congregating in networking, in conversations, in negotiations, etc. And over time, I developed the self-confidence to want to be heard. So I developed the ability to interject and sometimes interrupt to get my opinion on the table in negotiations and in conversations that arose. And at networking opportunities, I introduced myself and explained what my organization did and my role within
So it seems like some of the videos you collected were videos that were collected at your events, and others were ones that people just did on their own. Is that right?
Yeah, we use both versions, collecting on site, and then we send out requests to members for especially like initiatives like this. But also when we're promoting our upcoming events too, we'll send out the link so they can record it on their own
Got it.
remotely.
Excellent. Drew, let's talk about your use of video. You've captured a lot of content on the show floor, and you've used it for different things. Talk a little bit about what those things are.
Yeah, we've had a number of different uses for this content. We actually started in 2022. MPI had its 50th birthday, and so we actually stitched together a year-long campaign. At every in-person activation we had, there was a Gather Voices kiosk. And then we also had an online campaign that was driving people to mpi.org/MPI50 so that they could submit their stories. And the whole campaign strategy was around painting a portrait of MPI's 50 years through the stories of our members. Because the stories themselves were really pretty remarkable. Everything from people having started their careers and completely growing, from an entry-level coordinator to a CEO, to meeting their significant other, to creating connections that created business opportunities, and they were stitched together in this mosaic that was really intriguing and engaging. We got almost 300 videos over the course of a year. Michael and his son were actually two of our filmers at IMEX America to kind of kick the thing off in late 2021. So we actually used all of those videos to really create this robust repository of basically just stories. And then they all culminated together with a big activation that we did at our annual user conference, which is called World Education Congress, which in 2022 was in San Francisco. And we had this huge setup. We created an actual museum of content and stitched together a timeline of all of these things that happened from 1972 to 2022. And then we had a kiosk set up there so people could contribute, so they could continue to contribute their stories and their content. And if you know event professionals well enough, you know that nobody is short on words and nobody is super, super shy. So when you set up these kiosks at your event, when you have the ability for somebody to share their story, there's no shortage of volunteers. I mean, the line starts at the door. So we constantly had people just all day long over our 3-day event in San Francisco coming up and providing more stories. So we then captured those and then not only used that for this MPI 50 promotion, but then we started to use those testimonials for paid marketing. So what you kind of see behind me is a campaign that really just launched last week on LinkedIn. So we're doing a paid marketing campaign on LinkedIn that uses these, they're 15, 20-second clips, because within the marketing space, within social media, paid especially, you want to keep them short. People's attention span is typically about 8 seconds. It's actually less than a goldfish, just FYI. That's what we've evolved to. So we got to keep those stories really, really short, just get to the point and then move on and kind of have it a little bit snazzy. So we take all of these assets, we run highly targeted campaigns within LinkedIn. We also do it just within, general social media and programmatic marketing so that we can hit people that are right for the MPI messaging and then connect them emotionally and realistically to people who are relevant to them. So you're not just running video ads of people, just kind of a talking head like me up there. I mean, I'm the brand guy at MPI. You don't really want to hear me as the salesperson. You'd rather hear somebody that you can identify with. So we then use our membership who are speaking real stories, real people, real successes, real connections, and putting them within the social space to help spread the word.
And you've this is a new campaign, Drew, right? But
Yeah.
you've done other campaigns where you've used this kind of video there. And how does video compare from a results perspective to sort of traditional ads and stuff?
Yeah, I mean the conversion rates. There's no comparison. If you're running, an HTML5 ad or some other just kind of programmatic animated graphic out there, or even just standard email campaign. Well, I'll get back to that. But within the programmatic and social space, when you're running video, our results are typically 2 or 3 times to 1 in terms of conversions and engagement. And in sharing, because a lot of these ads are running within the social space. So we'll see the engagement. We can see, how many people are watching the videos all the way through, and then we can see where they're being reposted. And one of the best aspects of this is that these are real people. So when they see these ads on their social feeds, guess what they do? Ooh, I just got an MPI ad, and they immediately start sharing it and liking it with all their friends. So you start getting a little bit of fuel to the fire right there. We track all of these very, very tight to make sure that they're working well. Then taking that within the email space, we will see much higher engagement in our targeted emails when they have a video component to them. Because again, we try and keep in our email campaigns, whether we're promoting our WEC event or our education or our membership in general, we try and keep the copy really light because people don't read. And we try and put videos in there because people prefer to watch and listen and hear. Because again, you can't get the same type of emotional connection or relevancy in written language as you can through, spoken word.
Yeah, I think we're seeing across our clients something like 200 to 300% additional click-throughs for event promotional emails that have a thumbnail with a play button on it. People are just much more likely to click on that play button than they are on some, big text email and text link. Matt, have you done anything with email and video?
Yeah, we pretty much try to share every event, a Gather Voices video. Every email has at least one. Our international symposium in Hamburg, Germany is coming up, and the email that went out this week, actually today, it's scheduled, but it has our European chapter president, and she recorded a video to promote the event to our international members to attend.
And what do all of you, I'd love your thoughts on, I think there's a lot of brands that are really protective of what their content looks like and have, the old way of doing video is, everything's perfectly lit and everything sounds perfect and everything, and I think there's a cultural and emotional shift that we need to make, to accept things that are not quite as polished. How do you do that? And Shelley, talk about that a little bit, especially with a big brand that has super high polished things elsewhere. How do you kind of let this into the mix?
Yeah, it was certainly something that I don't know if this is on.
No.
It was certainly something that we had to do with marketing in many ways because we have definitely a style guide at Hard Rock, and that style guide tells us what we can, what we can't do, and who can do it. And so all of a sudden, if you've gone through the whole contracting process with your DPA and who owns that content, they may have said something extraordinarily brilliant about our brand, but unless we own it, we can't share it, we can't use it, it can't become us. And so how do you wrap that story into and weave it into our brand campaigns? And so we had to be really careful to say this was the people's platform, not the brand platform. And so that's why we use it much more in live engagement activities than we do for promotion of the brand, because we already have a division that does that. It follows so many more campaign strategies that we have on a global perspective. So for us, it's really the platform of the people. It gives them that soapbox, just like anybody else could have their own recording studio. So we really kind of looked at that content is their feeling. They're the influencer of our brand. That's how they feel about it. Right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever we get, that content is able to be shared. And so the DPA on that, who owns the rights to it, because of the platform that we have with Gather Voices, allows us that protectionism.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's the same, you get a lot of the feel of what's out in the wild, but it's really owned content. It's content that you control, that you decide, you moderate, and you can reuse and mix and match any way you want. Great. Well, thank you all so much. I think we have some questions.
Yeah, we got some questions from the audience. If we can bring up the Vvox slide. If you guys have questions, this is your last chance to get them in. Vvox.app, then enter the ID 125-890-825. But the first question we have is from Amy Taylor. Amy, thanks for joining us. She asked, when reaching out for recorded content outside of in-person events, what is the response rate? In other words, how hard is it to get pre-recorded content from a virtual audience prior to an event?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I'll let you all answer that. I think from what we see across, several hundred clients is that it's all about how you ask, when you ask, and are people engaged? So instead of chasing people for video when you need it, the idea is to integrate an ask when somebody's already engaged. So if somebody's registering for your event, if they're an early bird registrant, what a great time to say, tell us what you're excited about to come to the event. That's when they're thinking about it. That's when they're doing it. Put that there, as opposed to, again, that email that ends up in, our inboxes are just broken, right? There's just too much junk. We can't pay attention to it. So it's like, how do you do that? So you've got a bunch of videos that came in, at that point. How did you do that, and how did you think about your response rate?
One of the things is we look at who engages in our content. So LinkedIn's a great source of that. We'll kind of look at who liked things, who shared our other content for that. But also we have a pretty big base of people that just love TMA and love to provide content for us. So we have that database of people that are kind of our go-tos. And then once they get a video up, other people are like, well, I want to do it too. So it makes it easier once we get a couple up there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've seen that as a great strategy as well. It's like, go to those people who are the really charismatic, well-liked people in your community, get those up, and it creates a snowball effect where other people are attracted to that. Is that something you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate. MPI's got a little bit of a cult-like feel to it. Our members are extremely passionate, and like I said, they're not quiet. So we actually, the strategy that we use is to hit them right when the moment is hot. So as soon as they get that registration confirmation page, we say, hey, we want to hear from you. We want you to contribute to the chatter, and we've got a link right there to record a video, and then we've got links right there to share as well. So we try and just, strike that iron while it's hot.
And so for ours, we incentivize, right? You're getting a free song. So a lot of people want to come and do that, and it's something that they get for free, and it's good. We also create a few campaigns where we're asking for certain things that we're looking for, and we tag it as, you've been chosen. You've been chosen to give us your content. It's almost like the draft. So we'll go after them and make sure we get it. So right now we're doing one for an activity and an engagement exercise that we're doing down in Mexico with Drew and WEC is Confessions of a Meeting Planner. So we're collecting confessions of a meeting planner through this app and seeing what we can get so that we can actually create some really fun video content around the engagement exercise that we're doing.
Awesome. Well, I want to do a little community video experiment here, if we can. And there we go. So we put together, based on all of what you heard today, we put together a workbook, community-driven video storytelling workbook with the step-by-step processes that these organizations and others go through to do community-driven video. To get yours, just scan the QR code over here, and you will be prompted to make a video. And you can make a video about what you learned about community-driven video content. So what did you learn? What's a good takeaway from today? Share one takeaway, and we will send you your community-driven video workbook. I'll leave that up for just a second. Well, I want to thank all of you. I think we're about at time, so I want to thank all of you so much for coming here. It was really exciting to be the first session at the first ever event here in Vegas, and really appreciate you all joining me. Here's all of our contact info. If anybody wants to reach out afterwards, please do. I think, and if you're not a member of MPI, you should be. If you're not staying at a Hard Rock,
Absolutely
you should
correct.
be.
Absolutely correct.
And if you're in the turnaround management business, you are probably already a member. So, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.